Hello from Neil and me. Welcome to Tuesday's Anglia Tonight.
First this evening, two families whose lives have been transformed by organ donation are backing an ambulance driver charged with speeding while taking a liver for an emergency transplant.
Paul Becks, who lives near Cambridge, could lose his licence. But the mother of Britain's youngest boy heart transplant patient says Mr Becks should be praised, not prosecuted.
And Myra Sankey from Chelmsford, the owner of the oldest transplant kidney in England, agrees. Natalie Gray has the story.
Tom Stacey from Clacton is alive because another child's heart beats inside him. The transplant operation was carried out when he was only a month old, making Tom the youngest boy in Britain to have a heart transplant. His parents know they owe their son's life to ambulance drivers like Paul Becks from Cambridge, who race donor organs at high speed across the country, ready for surgery. Mr Becks now faces losing his job after being clocked doing 102 miles an hour while carrying a liver from Addenbrooke's Hospital in Cambridge to the northeast. The Staceys say he should be praised, not prosecuted.
I would be thinking about the patient, as I'm sure he was at the time, because I know when Tom was in hospital and he was in intensive care waiting for the heart to come across the country, the timings were absolutely crucial.
If that organ doesn't get used, it can't get...
It's just a waste.
It is just a waste. It can't get reused again. So it can't go on ice and be put in the fridge and stored away. It gets used then or it doesn't get used at all.
The ambulance man has a real crucial part to play, because at the end of the day the operation can't go ahead without that organ, and without that organ the child would die.
71-year-old Myra Sankey from Chelmsford agrees. 40 years ago she was taken off dialysis and given a kidney transplant, a transplant which doctors expected would last just 10 years. 4 decades later, it's still going strong.
OK, he hadn't got a person, but he was on a mission to take the liver to someone who was desperately needing it, and therefore I think in those circumstances they should waive that prosecution.
If Mr Becks had been carrying a patient instead of a donor organ, he would not have been prosecuted. His employers, Lifeline, have appealed and called for a change in the law.
To me, it seems a right mockery of the law. We can take the patients to the organ and we can go as quick as we like, but we can't take the organ to the patient, and therefore we're breaking the law.
Meanwhile, Tom Stacey and Myra Sankey are alive only because of transplants. Tom back at Colchester General Hospital to say thank you to staff today for saving his life. When Tom was put on the waiting list for a heart transplant, his parents were told not to have high expectations. That's because it's so unusual for a donor to become available to such a young child. But it came from a baby who died somewhere else in Europe.
We thought about it quite a lot, and we thought how brave they are and how grateful we are that they were so brave and that they were so selfless.
At a very difficult...
That must have been
the darkest time of their life, and to make that decision
for a family that they didn't
yeah,
even know. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
We could never repay them.
No.
Myra Sankey, meanwhile, never expected to see her 70s.
I'm very thankful. I didn't know who it was, but whoever it was, then I've made good use of the time, I think, and has given me a different life. And I can't really thank them enough, really.
2 lives then transformed by transplants, and 1 life put on hold while a court decides his fate. Natalie Gray, Anglia News.
Well, earlier I spoke to Michelle Tyler from the Eastern Organ Donation Team. Although unable to talk about the speeding driver, Michelle told me our 2 stories show how vital it is that people sign up to the transplant programme.
Absolutely, and these are 2 cases of where people's lives have been completely changed through the gift of organ donation. Up to 9 people can actually benefit from 1 person donating their organs.
Of course, at the other end, it's very, very difficult for families who've lost loved ones to make that decision.
Yes, it is. Organ donation isn't an easy thing for families to actually consider. What does actually make the decision easier is if people have actually registered on the organ donor register, and if they have made their wishes known to their family, so when the time comes, their family can be asked about donation.
So what do you think needs to be changed at the moment? How is the system wrong? How should we be encouraging people?
I think at the moment about 28% of the population in the UK are actually registered on the organ donor register. I think more and more people need to consider you know, what they would like to do, put themselves on the organ donor register, speak to their loved ones and make their wishes known. There has been certainly a huge increase in the number of people that are actually registering on the organ donor register, and we hope that as an organisation, NHS Blood and Transplant, to see that number increasing, because that will actually decrease the number of patients that are on the waiting list that are urgently waiting for a transplant, and that number is currently 8,000 and is increasing every day.
So there are positive signs, it's a good thing. Thanks very much for your time, Michelle Tyler.
Yes. Thank you, thank you.
And for more information on organ donation, head to our website, itv.com/Anglia.
Yes, two incredible stories. You can also watch items from the programme, plus there's a full forecast for the Anglia region.
The widowed son-in-law of the TV presenter and former footballer Bob Wilson has died, it's believed, after he trod on a sea urchin.
Mitchell Carey died at the Lister Hospital in Stevenage after contracting suspected blood poisoning from the creature whilst on holiday in Greece. Martin Stew reports.
They may look painful, but they're very rarely deadly. The spikes of a sea urchin are used to warn off predators and only contain a mild venom at worst. But it's believed the bacteria on just one of these barbs was enough to poison Mitchell Carey's blood and eventually kill the 44-year-old from Hertfordshire. Mitchell was on holiday in Greece with his second wife Deborah when he accidentally stepped on the creature. After he returned home to Nebworth, his foot started to swell and he complained of stomach pains. On August the 16th, he took himself to casualty but was discharged into the care of his GP. On the 17th of August, Mr Carey was rushed back here to the Lister Hospital A&E in an ambulance, and despite the best efforts of staff here, he died the next day. It's the same hospital where his first wife Anna died 12 years ago of cancer. She was the daughter of Bob Wilson, who set up the Willow charity in her memory. The former Arsenal and Scotland goalkeeper is said to be devastated by the news. At the Sea Life Centre in Great Yarmouth, marine biologist Darren Gook told me cases like this are extremely rare. Urchins will never actively attack humans, but if you do stand on one, you should take precautions.
The first thing to do would be to remove any protruding spines. Do this obviously wearing gloves over your hands. Don't handle them with your bare hands or tweezers. Then the next best thing to do is to immerse the affected area into water, not scalding, but as hot as you can take it, for anywhere between 30 minutes to 90 minutes. This will help with the pain and also will start to break down certain components of the venom as well.
Mitchell's wife Deborah will have to wait for the post-mortem to find out exactly how he died and how a romantic getaway to Greece ended so sadly. Martin Stew, Anglia News, Nebworth.
An extraordinary story.